Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, SewRena, and today's video is going to be a video on my Grinch circle skirt outfit that I made this week. I'm currently wearing this outfit. I just got home, so it's been a pretty long day. So I just want to film this intro really quickly so that way you guys can see the behind the scenes of this outfit. I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, like, subscribe, and share this video. My Instagram is SewRena_. I'll leave a link to that in the description, as well as information about the fabric and things of that nature in the description as well. I hope you enjoy. Okay guys, so this is a rough sketch of my applique skirt that I'm working on. I want to have a Christmas tree made out of fabric, and the Grinch hand and ornament I want to be made out of HTV, heat transfer vinyl. I have some Christmas presents on here. I plan on using fabric from past projects to use as appliques for that. I want to make Max's dog, and then as you'll see through the video, I actually added Cindy Lou Who. I didn't add ornaments, and I added lights to it. But this was a rough sketch of what I have planned for my skirt. So to start, I'm cutting one of my favorite skirts. It's off of a dress pattern, and usually I draft my own circle skirts, but I find that just using a skirt that I'm already familiar with the length and the fit of it is a lot easier to store, because I usually draw my patterns on a thicker craft paper. But now that I don't have like a 100% complete designated sewing space that can hold all of my stuff, it's just easier to use a tissue pattern instead. After the skirt portion is cut, I put those away and I start roughly sketching out what I want the tree shape to be. Now, I'm not good at sketching or drawing of any kind, and I would have preferred to use my Cricut to do this. However, at the time that I was actually cutting this out, I did not have a long enough Cricut mat for as big as I wanted my tree to be. So I had to kind of just scribble it out on this with a fabric pencil and cut out the shape. So that's what I'm doing here, and as you can see, it's super rough. It's probably worse than kindergarten. So now I'm going ahead and cutting it out on the fold so that way I can get somewhat of symmetry, and then I trim it out a little on the end. I do this without any heat and bond underneath it, but if I were to do it again, I would adhere the heat and bond to the fabric first, then cut it out, so that way I didn't have to worry about any frayed ends. It didn't matter in this situation because I ended up trimming the tree a little bit after the heat and bond was on there, so I ended up with very clean and neat edges anyway. But just a tip to go ahead and adhere your fabric before you cut out your shape, or just use your Cricut if you have a long enough mat. For those who may not know what heat and bond is, it's kind of like a double-sided heat activated adhesive, so it pretty much turns any fabric that you iron onto it into a double-sided applique. So that's what I'm gonna do to pretty much make this tree into an applique that I can iron it onto the skirt. This doesn't require you to sew over the top, not this type of heat and bond. So if you don't sew, you can use this and you don't have to sew over the edge to secure it. It'll be fine without any sewing. To make everything easy to maneuver, I'm going to be working on just the front half of the skirt for the applique. I'm going to work in two sections, front and back. So now it's time to assemble the tree. So I'm going to start by adhering the tree applique, and then I'll follow that up with adding the vinyl star that we just cut out with the Cricut. I made a quick cardstock template with the Grinch hand to make sure that it was the right size that I wanted for behind the tree. And then I used that as a guide for placing the pieces of vinyl. So that's what I'm doing here, just using the template as a guide, and then I remove it and start piecing the vinyl together. So with the Max character, I actually used 100% cotton for his body, and then I cut heat transfer vinyl for his outline. I also used corduroy for his ears. This was the first time I used fabric in my Cricut, and I thought it came out really nicely. Next we have Cindy Lou Who. I'll admit that she was a bit hard to work on. One, I'm not that skilled or talented using my Cricut. I literally bring it out for like situations like these where it requires some kind of like art that I don't have the talent to draw. So making her was the first time I've ever layered so many pieces before. But then also I was struggling to get all of her layers even to begin with on the computer, and that reflected in the finished product. So this is day 2 of the skirt. I went ahead and put on all the characters last night and ended with Cindy Lou Who. She was quite a bit of work. So this morning I went and grabbed some ornaments and some Christmas lights from Dollar Tree. So my plan is to decorate the tree with the ornaments. I'm thinking to use the gold garland to decorate the tree and kind of hide the lights behind it. I'm also adding a pocket on that side so that way I can put the battery pack to the decoration, to the lights inside, and have it hidden to where I can turn it on and off. So that's what we're going to do, and then I think I'm gonna start assembling. Now I'm adding a bound buttonhole to the side of the tree where the pocket is going to be so that I can add the wire for the Christmas lights to go in. And I plan on disguising that little space with some garland when I attach it. And I'm gonna probably attach the garland at the very end so that way I can sew it on while it's on my dress form. So if you didn't know already, I'm a lover of all things vintage, but not just dressing vintage, but vintage sewing machines and their attachments. So right now I'm using my favorite attachment, and it is a Singer professional buttonholer. It has templates for eyelet buttonholes, a regular eyelet, bound buttonholes, and worked buttonholes. So that's what I use to do all of my buttonholes, and it doesn't require any math at all, just picking the right button size out of all the templates it comes with. And that's what I'm using here, and that's what I use for pretty much all of my projects. I love it so much. So now I am sewing on the pocket, and I also add a worked buttonhole to this pocket as well, so that way the skirt itself has the bound buttonhole and the pocket has a worked buttonhole. So the worked buttonhole just makes things a little bit faster in the sewing process. Continuing on with assembly, I sew up the center back seam up until the point where the zipper is, and I apply a lapped zipper. Now I'm applying the pocket to the back portion of the skirt. So at the last minute, I decided that the back of the skirt was going to be plain, and being the extra self that I am, I could not let that happen. So I used some scrap fabric to cut out some extra gift boxes to place at the bottom of the skirt to give it that little extra from behind. So to avoid using my serger, I decided to do French seams on the side of the skirt that did not have a pocket. So in order to do the French seam, you want to sew wrong sides together, cut it, press it, put right sides together, and then sew another seam. And that's what I'm going to go ahead and do here now. So I trimmed the seam allowance, put right sides together, and here I am sewing back down the seam in order to create that French seam, that nicely finished look from the inside and the out without using a serger. Now I'm sewing up the last side of the skirt, and this is the side with the pocket. I'm using a smaller seam allowance around the buttonhole in a way to avoid sewing over the buttonhole. I decided to put the buttonhole that low because that's how I measured out where the bound buttonhole and the pocket met up. We are nearly done with the skirt, so now I am attaching the waistband. I drafted this waistband, and it's the same waistband I use for the gathered skirts that I make. And so I just always have this waistband laying on my cutting table. So we're almost done with the skirt. All there's left to do is to hand sew on the hem, as well as add in hook and eye to the back and the decorations to the front of the skirt. And here is a view of the back. I really like how this turned out. So now I'm cutting the blouse front pieces. I'm cutting this in 2 separate pieces so that way I can rearrange the stripes and they line up the way I'd like to. So I cut the front piece first, then I use that as a template to cut the second piece, just to make sure that my pattern matching is on point. And I want it to make a V in the center. So here I am showing you that and lining up the second piece. Now that everything is cut the way I would like it, I go ahead and sew down the center front first before I put the darts on, so that way I make sure my stripes stay lined up the way I want them. Now I'm sewing the darts. I try and make sure that the stripes are all aligned as best as possible before I do this, so that way everything stays continuously straight and even. And now the skirt is complete, and so is the blouse. The lights are on. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share with someone you think would be interested. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at SewRena_. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye.